that label. So shiny and tie-dye, amazing. So this is a new IPA, and it's got an experimental hop in it called HBC 630, which is the Yakima Chief Hops. So we're going to talk all about what that is doing to the beer and why it's got the word candy in the label. So essentially what we'll do, we're streaming today on both Facebook and on YouTube. So everyone can participate from either of those platforms, either of those platforms. So if you've got a comment for Sam and Sam, then just write it in the chat and we can ask it on your behalf anytime throughout the next half an hour. And really what we'll do then is just get started with what to expect for the next half an hour, and then we'll get into tasting the beer. So we'll do some brief intros, taste the beer, move on to questions about the beer, and then sort of broaden out with questions about Boxcar, and then we'll take your questions from viewers at the end. So in terms of intros, my name's Natalya. I'm a beer educator, author, and podcast host. I run my own virtual beer school, so I teach people about beer and basically just love to talk about beer. And I got my start in beer at Mother Kellys, so that's why I'm back here hosting the live streams for them. So Sam D, I'm going to come to you first for your intro, then Sam J, and let us know a bit about you, what you do at Boxcar, and of course a bit about Boxcar too.
Cool. Confusingly, it's two Sams, but it's just the way it happens. I'm the head brewer, and I do the designs, kind of like creative director in a way. And I founded the brewery with Stephen Finch, who's not here, like 4 years ago or something. And yeah, and then Sam came on as like sales and logistics year and a bit.
Yeah, about a year and a month ago, so just before lockdown kicked in last year.
Oh my goodness, what timing.
Yeah, it was different. But yeah, so I sort of look after sales, operations in a broad sense of anything that's not brewing or designing.
Yeah, right, getting the beer out to the masses.
Try and take it off Sam D's hands.
Nice. And do you guys have the beer with you to taste today?
Yep.
Woohoo! Ready to go. Okay, perfect. So I always like to encourage people when doing a tasting, not just to jump right in and drink the beer, but look at it, smell it, taste it, think about the texture, all that good stuff. So I'll talk through some of the things I'm finding, and then I would love to get your thoughts on the beer. So I mean, like a lovely hazy IPA should be, beautiful hazy golden color. And I think for the aroma for me, it's so interesting. Like I definitely get tropical fruits, and it's good to give the glass a swirl, another way to get more aroma out of the beer. Like I get tropical fruits, I get citrus peel, and I do get this candy thing that you guys are mentioning. I know it says on the label perhaps a strawberry or a raspberry, but I'm just getting that sort of sweet and sour candy vibe. But then going to taste the beer, I definitely pick up the watermelon candy that you mentioned in one of your descriptions of the beer.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's definitely what it is because I bought some to taste alongside.
Oh, perfect.
From the co-op up the road. So yeah, again, all of that like tropical fruits, that citrus peel, but then also that watermelon sweet and sour candy is in there for me. Kind of noticeable, but not really over the top bitterness, and then a nice soft mouthfeel to finish it all off. So what else am I missing? How else would you guys describe it?
So it is basically that, except like every can I've opened has kind of smelled different. I don't know if it's progressing day on day. And when we canned it, it was the whole brewery smelled like bubblegum, basically. And then the day after, it started tasting more like strawberry laces sweets.
Yeah,
like
got one of those to compare.
Yeah. And then yesterday I opened one and it smelled like bubblegum again. And now today it's going more kind of like watermelon strawberry candy again. So I mean, it's ridiculous hop. And I've really noticed it has a particular mouthfeel to it, I think, because this IPA is very similar to another one we brewed with different hops, and they have very different mouthfeels. And this has quite a like oily, slick mouthfeel, like maybe like Galaxy does, or a hop like that. I can't actually remember the oil content, but I mean, I reckon it's probably pretty high because you can really feel that kind of slick,
that hot oil texture.
Yeah.
It was interesting as well. We got, when we were tasting it through the brewing process, it was like cucumber, watermelon-y, and then it really started developing towards like the sort of, strawberry vibes. It was very interesting hop to sort of see it through the process.
And so this HBC 630, it's still experimental, hence why it doesn't have a name yet, and it's from Yakima Chief Hops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did that partnership come about to experiment with this particular hop?
So Katie, our salesperson, she basically just approached us. I think because a few people at Yakima Chief had seen what we'd done with a couple of newer hops. Like we used Talus in a beer a while ago, and I think people quite like that. And so she approached us to see if we wanted to try and work with this one. And when she said it's the descriptor of like strawberry raspberry candy,
you're like, sign me up.
Yeah, and I was like, I kind of don't believe it's going to be that, but okay, we'll see what it does. And for it to actually come out tasting like that, it's pretty crazy. Like it doesn't really taste like hops, you know.
Yeah, true.
It's got that kind of, I think the citrus peel thing might be more from like the Whirlpool or the Boyle, which had a couple of other little hops in.
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
Yeah, I think it was Mosaic and Simcoe in the Whirlpool.
Okay.
To try and emphasize those like berry, red, blue fruits kind of vibe. But like almost all of the aroma and most of the all the aroma and most of the flavor is definitely from HBC 630. Because this is how those hops smelt out of the bag. So they translated really well from bag to beer. Yeah,
because there can be a change sometimes, right?
Yeah. So like sometimes hops can be like really kind of oniony and harsh in the bag, and then you let them sit in the beer a while and it blows a lot of that off and you get stuff underneath. But we had HBC 630 T90s, so the normal hop pellets against beer. We also had a bag of cryo, which is like the enhanced like double concentrated hop pellets, and it just smelled like a sweet shop when you open that bag.
And so did you add any of this during the boil or during the Whirlpool, or it was all
No, because like the limited amount I had, I just wanted to throw it all in dry hop
aroma.
Yeah. So but yeah, I think only thing I'd change maybe next time is like knock the bitterness down a touch just to make it even more like a sweet shop. But it is quite refreshing with bitterness like that. So
yeah, it's that kind of weird sweet and sour thing that I'm getting too. That normally we use bitterness for balance and not the sourness for balance. But maybe it is just because I ate those watermelon sweets that have a lot of sourness to them. I'm like, is there some sort of sourness coming through here? It feels very strange.
Yeah, I wonder if like, I mean, a lot of the flavor on your tongue is more aroma perception, you know, like the way strawberries taste sweeter, but they don't actually have more sugar in, kind of thing. So
it's so much to do with the aroma and then what our mind interprets that as.
Yeah, and they're almost, the hop compounds are almost tasting like esters from the yeast. They've got this like sweet, fruity vibe to them. Yeah, it's very interesting.
And I do want to ask about the rest of the recipe as well, but we've just had a question come in. It said, did you have any suggested use for the hops or recipe input from Yakima Chief, or did you have complete free reign to brew it the way that you wanted to?
They just sold us the hops.
And do what you want.
Yeah. There was no real, it was just like, this is the flavor descriptors that you might see, basically.
And in terms of the rest of the malt, or the rest of the ingredient list, I should say, we know we've got some oats and some wheat in there to kind of soften the mouthfeel. Are there any fruity esters that we should be expecting, or most of the fruits coming from the yeast? And do you want to say anything about the water profile that helps this stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of probably a fairly normal New England IPA water profile and mash. And then our yeast that we use gives off kind of like, it gives off slight kind of jelly, candy, sweets esters anyway.
That fits
so
perfectly with this.
I wonder if you use this hop with a drier, more neutral yeast, whether it would actually feel as much like kind of sweet shoppy or not. I don't know.
And are you hopping when the yeast is still present? So can we get some biotransformation perhaps?
Yeah, like not in active fermentation, but there's yeast in there now. So like, it probably, it's hard to say whether it is affecting it, but the flavors do suddenly change after a certain amount of time. So there's probably a little bit of that going on.
Yeah, right. So do we know if it's just this new hop doing its thing as it's changing with time, or is it the fact that there's some biotransformation too? This will be a fun one. I have 2 cans, so I'm going to save the other one for a bit longer and see how it changes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what other beers you've got in front of you, because you brew a lot of hazy IPAs, but you do brew other styles as well. So talk us through the Boxcar range a bit more broadly.
So I mean, mainly we do pale ales, IPAs, double IPAs, and that's going to be like the majority of our output, because it's like we love drinking that and people love buying that basically. And then like a few times a year we want to do like what we've been calling neo trad, so like trademark neo trad, which is basically trying to take classic styles and putting them into can and keg format. So like classic cask styles like Best Bitter and Dark Mild, Golden Ale. Yeah.
And you've done an English IPA as well?
Yeah. Well, that again was another hop company. Charles Farram had some Olicana and Chester hops, which are like newer breeds of English hops. And they had, similar to what Cryo is from Yakima Chief, like an enriched hop, they had an enriched version of those hops that we got some of that off them and basically tried to make a New England IPA with those hops.
Ah, okay.
And it was pretty oniony, but like the onion kind of faded with time and it just left like a soft tropical, kind of creamy tropical hop presence after that.
Okay, so a very meta in that New England IPA vibe, going for an English IPA with New England.
Yeah, it's a bit weird because it's like a New England IPA, but you know, it's old English yeast, it's English malts, and it's English hops. So it's not really like it's just a modern English. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. What did you say? Modern trad modern? What's the TM? Neo trad. There we go. I'll bank that one.
Ring to it.
And you said that you do those sort of was it once a year? These more traditional styles.
Like Dark Mild. I mean, we kind of want to keep it so it's not like 100% always available, just to kind of make it a little bit more special. So I don't know. We'll brew Dark Mild a few times a year because it's got a big following, and then we'll like seasonally play around with other ones, I think.
And why do you think the Dark Mild has that following?
Because partly because so few people put it into can and keg, and there's like a I don't know if it's a niche market, but there's like a section of people that just absolutely pine for that and have nostalgic associations like attached to it, I think.
It's interesting with the double dark as well. You sort of like the double dark mild we released at the start of the year, sort of almost forced a load of the sort of the hype juice type drinkers into the dark mild world. And we had quite a big then response in terms of like trying to find when we were next doing dark mild, which wasn't the case last time round. It was sort of more of a consistent level of sales in terms of to the that smaller market of people. But it was a very interesting experiment with the double dark mild. It's that will be coming back for sure.
Yeah, it's so interesting that there are these styles that are so important to British brewing, but they're often, as you said, so associated with cask or, you know, the boring brown bitter beers that people used to drink. And now there's this resurgence in them. So we have a question that's come in about it, but I will ask as well more broadly. I take it you need to buy in new ingredients that you're not really using in other styles for that particular beer?
Wait,
The dark mild,
Yeah, in terms of malts at least.
different ingredients
compared to
like the
The rest of the core range.
I mean, yeah. So it's more. Yeah, I'd kind of go for more. I don't know what to say, but yeah, like it's like crystal malts, chocolate malts, more of like a English pale malt rather than we go for like really light kind of extra pale, almost lager malts in these ones. But it is still our normal yeast with like the glossy fruity esters, and actually like I think something that really suits can and keg is basically taking some of the things you learn from New England IPA to create that softer mouthfeel, and then using that to kind of almost emulate cask.
Really interesting. Yeah, right. Because it's got that lower carbonation, that softer, smoother, creamier texture. So how can you bring that into a different package format?
Yeah.
Well, the question in the chat was exactly that. Are the esters Sam D's signature in his beer? I found the dark mild really fruity.
Yeah, I mean, it's our house yeast, basically, that we harvest and repitch throughout beers. And it's you know, like the New England IPA yeasts are old English bitter strains. So throw them in a bitter. It's
all connected. Yeah. Well, just a reminder to everyone watching, please do submit your questions. We've already had 2 come in. But I wanted to ask if you can maybe let us know what styles are coming next. And then we'll talk about the taproom reopening as well.
Yeah, so we just released today, we're really excited, with a Citra, 100% Citra double IPA. That, yeah, there's a lot of like biotransformation and all sorts of, it's like 30 grams per liter dry hopping, which is like the most expensive beer we've ever made. So I hope people like it.
Yeah, there we go.
And then what have we got? We got
a couple of rebrews.
Yeah, a couple of rebrews, which we never do. But we were just like, well, let's actually start rebrewing something that was good. So like an IPA called Endless and double IPA called Tonal Vision that we brewed really early on in this site. We're now actually going to like try and do them again, and I assume they're going to be like way better. I don't know. Like they might be worse. I don't know. And we've actually got a collab coming out soon with Daya Brewery that I should have gone to theirs to do it, but it ended up having to be a remote one because of a lockdown, which is actually a bottled barley wine. So like they've been really like supportive and happy that like we're doing some more traditional styles in the craft area. Yeah, so we're just waiting for that one. And then so all of these new IPAs and the Dipper, they're all available in the tap room. We're opening tomorrow night for the first time in a long time.
Woohoo! Cheers to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday to Sunday, basically now. From now on, the tap room will be open.
And Sam, Jay, do you want to talk to us a bit about the last year of the business from your experience in terms of sales, no sales, what that's been like, and what to expect now that the tap room is reopened?
Yeah, I mean, it's been different. I think it's we've had it fairly, wouldn't say well, but we've been quite lucky with how the timings of things have fallen in terms of what stock we were holding and the time we were kind of given to adapt in terms of what we were going to package and what we were going to keg and web shop and all those sort of things. So in terms of that, we were quite lucky, and very grateful for it. But it's been difficult for the prediction side of things in terms of like trying to, especially last summer, estimate what people were actually after, because there was a big surge in bottle shops, and there was a drop off in wholesalers, and there was pubs obviously closing, and some pubs able to open and offering takeaway draft, and so trying to split the beer that we brew into the right sort of levels of package has been challenging. Made a couple of mistakes, I think, but it's natural. And yeah, I think on the whole, for us, it's been quite nice, because when the wholesalers were unsure and they sort of held back from ordering more beers, we had just started our web shop, which meant we could distribute beers sort of nationwide to direct customers, but also to trade customers if they were ordering cases of beer, which opened up a whole new avenue for us to actually start dealing with customers directly and start to understand who our beers were going to from the emails that were coming in saying we can't get your beers anymore, basically, but we still want them. And that's been amazing, just to actually start being a small brewery in an arch in East London, hearing that there's people in sort of far reach of the country that were stocking our beer and want to continue stocking it, and now you can put a face to a name and things like that. That's been really nice. But I think on the whole, we've been lucky in terms of timings, and it's been quite nice for me personally. Just at the start, like the lockdown was a bit of a shock, obviously starting at a new job, but then some time to find my feet a little bit, understand what it is Boxcar is aiming for, and understand our route to market, and therefore how we can sort of try and push it forward a little bit. So yeah, it was, dare I say, quite lucky again.
At least you can take the positives out of it.
I think I remember speaking with Sam probably end of November, something like that, and it had been a bit of a slog, and it looked like we were going into lockdown again in December. Mm-hmm. I remember speaking and sort of saying we have to we're still here, we're still making amazing beer, and we still have demand coming in. We have to take all the positives, even though it's been so difficult and challenging to try and keep everything going smoothly in terms of brew schedules and all those sort of things. And sometimes I might have annoyed Sam and said we shouldn't brew beer at certain points and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely especially now we're coming out the other side. It's sort of looking back on the positives. It's always a better way to look at it, I think.
Yeah, right. It's all that we can do at this point, really.
Yeah.
And in terms of sort of looking at the sales data, perhaps, were there certain styles that you found did sell best that people were looking for? Was it really the core range, or people wanted bits of everything?
It's interesting. It's definitely bits of everything. So there's peaks at definite points when we released things like dark mild and things like that. There's been extreme peaks with things like double dark mild, and then there's been a pretty steady flow on the rest of it. So it's interesting because, like Sam said, we want to try and keep the neo-trad bits special, because we think they're quite special beers. We want them to maintain that sort of level, and therefore now we've slowed back on the releasing of that sort of style of beers. It's definitely generates its own spike in sales. So I think
who'd have
for us,
thought that a double dark mild would be a hype beer in 2021?
It was I think that was the most serendipitous beer release we'll ever do in terms of branding and style and starting the year. And
it basically started our new label size and branding style. It was the first beer that we put our symbol on. It's just funny that it's that beer, and that beer then did so well, And it's like, oh, cool. So you're happy with our new branding then?
So yeah, do you want to talk a bit more about that side, Sam D? I didn't realize you did all the creative as well. So where does the inspiration for that come from?
I don't know. I suppose it is just like just an obsession with great colors and like abstracts kind of design. So like, it doesn't really have to particularly be anything. It's like some kind of fuzzy clouds and bright colors and, you know, just stuff that looks nice.
Yeah, I love this one. Like it's a tie-dye oil spill in my mind.
Yeah, and we've been playing around with like metallic labels as well to see like what works, what kind of like shines off of the shelf a bit more. Yeah, I think, you know, it's a bit hippie, it's a bit like rainbowy, it's a bit abstract, it's a bit kind of like hallucinogenic in a way, but just seems to work.
Exactly, that's where the inspiration comes from. That's what's getting out to people. And okay, so on this neo trad thing, are there any other British styles that you want to put your stamp on?
Yeah.
That you can tell me about, or are you keeping them a secret?
Well, I want to kind of explore, like with Double Dark Mild, I wonder if we can make up another kind of style based on like a traditional style, but then made a bit more ridiculous, but it still works, you know, which is really tough when you think about it. So yeah, this is another
Double
reason.
Dark Mild, was that just really to increase the ABV or also to kind of increase the flavors as well?
It's just, yeah, it's like twice everything.
Okay.
It's like we just kind of boiled it down like to half the volume, and you know, all the flavors are like
concentrates.
Yeah. It's like double the mouthfeel, double the flavors, double everything. I suppose it could be a triple dark mild, really.
Best bitter.
Yeah, double best bitter. Yeah.
Would you ever consider giving the brown ale another look? I love the American brown ale, and the British brown ale is not really on my list, sadly. So I don't know if you could jazz that one up for me.
I suppose the dark mild came about because I tried some dark milds that like I absolutely loved and like would like dream like to drink, you know. I mean, unless that's like the fuzzy memory I have of it, but I don't really have a fuzzy memory of brown ale. Like, just I think because I mean, yeah, like what is a brown ale? Isn't it just like it's like a dark bitter, right? I mean, is it higher ABV? I don't know.
Around the same. So it's the same as like a strong bitter, which is 4.5% to 6%. So yeah, brown ales are around that 4.5% to 5.5%.
Yeah, I suppose maybe
but
they're a bit
less bitterness, more like nutty toffee flavors.
Oh, okay, maybe like an old ale, kind of.
Old ale stronger and tastes more dark fruity.
Right. So it's like real subtle.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
I'm not giving you much wiggle room. Yeah.
I mean, an old ale was another one I thought of. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about. I think it's just that I haven't had an example of a brown ale
that's been the inspiration for something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, we've had a question come in that said, Sam has brewed an awesome oyster stout in the past before Boxcar. What about something like that in the Neo Trad range?
Yeah, I mean, like, so we did an English porter that again we seem to keep getting like asked by ingredients companies to do, but it was Simpson's Malt had like a few hundred kilos of this test malt they were doing called Roast 200, and it was meant to be a brown malt, like a bit more like a traditional brown malt, so you could use a lot more of it maybe. I used to, I think it was like 23% brown malt. The rest of the beer was just pale malt, so it was just pale malt, brown malt, like that. And it was so complex and like had tobacco, leather, chocolate, coffee, dark fruit, like everything. And I kind of made it a little bit more sour as well. And it was like some ancient porter kind of flavor to it. It was crazy. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe more we will do like more dark beers, especially as like autumn, winter rolls around again.
Yeah, true. Maybe now's not the time for those.
Yeah, people just want juice in the sunshine, right?
Yeah.
So yes, okay, wrapping up, if you have any last thoughts to share, that I haven't asked you about, of course, please feel free to, but let us know about the newest beer again that just came out today and your taproom opening hours so people can come down and drink your beers fresh.
Yep. Newest beer is the Citra Double IPA.
It's very shiny.
There you go. Ridiculous amounts of Citra. Kind of tastes like mango pulp cream, spicy, mad.
Sounds delicious.
And
official tasting notes, that was. And then tomorrow from 5 o'clock, come down. We've got a new seated area covered because of the British summer, and we're just very, very excited. Loads of new, 8 fresh lines of beer on.
Oh, lovely! Being modeled right there.
Yeah. Just really, really excited to have people back down here and hopefully enjoying our beers.
If they're coming all the way down for them, you know that they will, definitely. Well, the good news is for all you Mother Kellys fans, Mother Kellys reopens today at Stratford. E20 is opening for Pints Outside today. And then Bethnal Green opens tomorrow. So if you're coming to Boxcar tomorrow, it's right next to Mother Kellys Bethnal Green. So just do the both. And also for those of you who aren't yet comfortable for Pints Outside, you can of course go to the bottle shop in N16 or order online, motherkellys.co.uk, and stock up on all your Boxcar beer needs there or from the guys themselves. So I think to keep up with Boxcar, you're at Boxcar Brew Co. on Twitter and Instagram. No E in brew, but they'll find you. And then of course, Mother Kellys is at Mother_Kellys, and each different site has their own Facebook page and their own Instagram and Twitter as well. And I'm Beer With Nat, if you ever want to chat with me about beer. But otherwise, I think I just need to say thanks for this delicious beer. I'm excited to eat more of my watermelon sweets alongside the rest of the beer and come down and see you guys for a pint very soon. So thank you very much both for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.